You won't believe what happened when a neighbor kept asking for Wi-Fi again and again. What happened next exposed a truth no one in the neighborhood saw coming, and it changed everything. The Holidays traded cramped brownstones for a yard and quieter streets, expecting slow weekends and room to breathe. Mabel, Michael, and their 2 kids wanted peace. Instead, they met odd little incidents and a next-door presence that never quite felt right. City noise was supposed to be behind them. The Holidays pictured backyard barbecues, kids running free, and easy evenings in the suburbs. Instead, they found themselves noticing strange moments at the fence and wondering where the friendliness had gone. Kyle kept showing up, asking again and again, so the Holidays changed passwords and tightened security. Still, the internet slowed. Then, Mabel saw him near the router box with a small device. The HOA brushed it off as a private dispute over Wi-Fi. One night, Mabel overheard the Morrises arguing and learned the truth. Their Wi-Fi had been cut off because the bill went unpaid. Kyle needed internet for GED study, not trouble. Michael offered pro bono financial help, and the mood in the neighborhood shifted. Kyle stood at the fence and asked, almost awkwardly, if he could have their Wi-Fi password for 5 minutes. Mabel and Michael exchanged a look. Why did a grown young man need that from them? Surely the Morrises had their own connection. Mabel said no, and Kyle stayed there, leaning on the fence with that hard, unsettling stare. She felt her patience drain fast, so she told him to head home because they had work to do and didn't need him lingering in their yard. After her first floristry deliveries went well, Mabel came home smiling. The smile vanished at the driveway. Kyle was back at the fence, hovering near the kids again. What had started as a nuisance now felt like a problem she couldn't ignore. For their children's safety, Mabel and Michael watched Kyle more closely. He only ever asked for the Wi-Fi password, but that was enough for them to stay wary. Then the internet kept slowing, and the pattern made them even more uneasy. Mabel and Michael finally went to Judy and Wesley Morris. Kyle was 19, but he still lived under their roof, and they expected his parents to step in. Mabel stayed calm and polite, hoping a careful conversation would solve it. Judy Morris laughed in Mabel's face. "It's just Wi-Fi," she snapped. "Stop being selfish." She said Kyle wasn't stealing anything, only checking social media. Mabel had tried to be reasonable, but the reply landed like a slap. Between bouquet orders, Mabel made the call she hoped would end the problem. She reached out to the Homeowners Association, certain they'd take a hard line. The suburb had rules, after all, and Kyle's behavior seemed like exactly their kind of issue. The HOA answered with a sharp no. "This is a dispute you'll need to settle yourselves," the woman said. "We have no jurisdiction over petty conflicts about Wi-Fi passwords." Mabel hung up, frustrated and no closer to a solution. All day, Mabel handled deliveries while Michael worked at the office. By evening, she'd made up her mind. She would go straight to the Morris house and confront them. They had talked it through, and neither of them saw another way forward. Mabel parked her floristry van, stepped out, and slammed the door. Anger was buzzing through her now. Kyle had pushed them long enough. She'd tried being nice, and it hadn't worked, so the Morris family was about to hear exactly how fed up she was. Inside, Wesley Morris was shouting at Kyle to stop acting like a weirdo and to keep the Holidays from digging into their business. His words were muffled at moments, but Mabel caught the tension immediately. This was no ordinary family row. Mabel stayed rooted to the spot as the argument spilled through the Morris home. "We're drowning in debt, Wes," she heard Judy cry. The Wi-Fi had been cut off because they couldn't pay, and Kyle needed it for his studies. The whole picture changed. The Morris family still hadn't handled things well, but now Mabel understood them. She felt guilty for turning Kyle away and for assuming he was creepy. He'd only been trying to study. Thinking of Noah or Emily in his place, her heart softened. When Michael got home, Mabel told him everything she'd overheard. He felt bad too, and the worst assumptions suddenly looked foolish. Still, Mabel saw a way forward. Michael was exactly the person who could help the Morrises get back on their feet. The next evening, Michael went over to the Morris house while Mabel stayed home with the kids, hoping for the best. He returned with good news. Wesley and Judy had listened. Sometimes accepting help is the first step toward getting life back in order. Earlier that day, Mabel had called the neighborhood community organization and pushed for a co-working space for young people. By evening, an email arrived. A room in the library would be opened up for work and study. Kyle finally had a place to go. What stands out here is how fast suspicion took hold and how quickly listening broke it open. The Holidays came looking for calm, then ended up guarding a fence over a Wi-Fi password. One overheard argument turned confrontation into compassion. A worried family can become enemies overnight when assumptions take over. Kyle looked creepy at the fence, yes, but he was also a kid trying to study. Mabel's caution made sense. The lesson is simple. Fear can hide a real need in plain sight. When a neighbor seems awkward or needy, start with a conversation, not a showdown. Set clear limits around kids and Wi-Fi, and protect your router without making a scene. If you can help, offer a local resource or a skill instead of a lecture. The holidays moved for peace, and after a rough start, they found their way back to it. The tension didn't disappear overnight. Boundaries, honest talk, and practical help did the work. That was enough for the neighborhood to settle down again. Jumping to conclusions built a wall between two households. Mabel meant to protect her kids, but that caution pushed Judy and Wesley into defense mode. Once suspicion takes over, pride usually follows. A short conversation can save a lot of trouble. Michael didn't hand out cash. He offered skills. His financial planning sessions gave the Morrises breathing room, and the library co-working space gave Kyle steady Wi-Fi and a place to study. It felt less like charity and more like real community repair. If that goes nowhere, bring in a local group or share a skill the way Michael did. Protect your family, of course, but keep listening for the real story behind awkward behavior. Neighbors matter. They moved for a yard and a little peace, then found themselves policing a fence over a Wi-Fi password. Small annoyances piled up until suspicion took over. Then one overheard argument changed everything, shifting the story from confrontation to compassion. Michael didn't offer cash. He gave time, advice, and a plan that respected the Morrises' pride. That kind of help does more than patch a problem. It gives breathing room, a path forward, and a reminder that skills can be the kindest gift. Lock down your router and check for tampering. Absolutely. But knock before you post and try a calm conversation first. Set firm safety boundaries while leaving room for a neighbor to explain. Those two moves can stop a lot of trouble early.